Hey y'all, today is February 22nd, and I'm doing a little mini lesson on lesson 6-1 that we did today in class. So first, let's review some very important vocabulary. The first word we talked about was population. The population is the whole group being studied. Everyone in that group is part of the population, okay? Now, the second vocab term that we talked about is sample. A sample is a selection taken from the whole group or taken from the larger group. It is a subset of the population. In other words, it is only part of the whole group. It's not everyone, it's only part, only a few people. Okay? Now, representative samples, those are really important. A representative sample is a sample that reflects the characteristics of the whole population. So in our lesson today, we were talking about Morgan was surveying voters in her town about whether they wanted a new stadium or not. So if the whole town were to vote yes for a new stadium, the representative sample, or if a sample is representative, it would also say, yes, we want a new stadium, okay? So the sample needs to be random in order to be representative, and that's a really important note. In order for a sample to be representative, it needs to be randomly selected. So you can't just survey your friends, you have to survey a randomly selected group of people. Okay, so now that we've talked about that vocab, let's get started with some examples. So number one, the choir teacher at Hillsdale Junior High wants to determine whether the 56 members of the 7th grade choir want to watch a movie or go on a field trip as a reward on their day after their winter concert. Which of the following is a representative sample of the population? So the question is, which of the following is a representative sample of the population? And key words are representative sample. Remember, in order for a sample to be representative, it has to be randomly selected. So I'm going to even make a note of that. So it needs to be randomly selected. And that means that everyone, the whole population, everyone in that population has an equally, has an equal chance of being selected, right? So let's look at our answer choices. So A, all of the girls in the choir. Well, we're not taking into account how the boys feel, so that doesn't work. 5 randomly selected girls and 5 randomly selected boys in the choir. Well, I like the word randomly selected. That's important, right? And there's some girls and some boys. So I'm really liking B. Let's read the others. The conductor, that doesn't really make sense. And the members of the chess club, well, they have no say in what the choir people do. So I think B is our best option. And I like B because it is randomly selected. Girls and boys are both represented too. Okay, moving on to number 2. A bagel shop takes a survey to find the appropriate percentage of its customers, a bagel shop takes a survey to find the approximate percentage of its customers who prefer the new shop hours. What is the population of this survey? So what is the population? Remember, the population is the whole group, the large group, right? So I'm going to make a little note that it is the whole group. And now let's read through our options. So A, all the bagels sold by the bagel shop. Well, the bagels are not the things being surveyed, so that doesn't make any sense. B, all people in the same town as the bagel shop. Well, this is specific to this one bagel shop. So I don't think the people in the town, if they don't go to the bagel shop, they don't really matter. The customers who were surveyed, well, that doesn't really make sense because there's more than just the customers who were surveyed, right? All of the bagel shop's customers. So everyone that goes to that bagel shop, that's the population. Okay? So D is our answer. Let's look at number 3. During a middle school baseball game, every spectator placed his or her ticket stub into one of several containers. After the game, the coach chose 8 people to march in the sportsmanship parade. What is the sample in this situation? So, what is the sample? Remember, the sample is the smaller group. So, it's the subset of the population. So, what is the sample? So, I'm going to read it one more time. During a middle school baseball game, every spectator placed his or her ticket stub into one of several containers. Okay, so every spectator. Remember, spectator means like people watching a game. So that's everyone that was there. So that right there is the population. Oh, y'all, sorry. There is a wasp in my classroom, and I have no clue where it came from. So that's kind of fun. Okay, we're going to try to get through this video, though. So the spectators are, like every spectator, that's the whole group. That's the population. Okay, so that's not the sample. Okay, after the game, the coach chose 8 people to march in the sportsmanship parade. So, the coach is not the sample. He's not the small group. The baseball game spectators, that's the population. That's the whole group. The ticket stubs, that's not what's being, that's not it. The 8 people to march in the sportsmanship parade, that right there is the sample. That's the small group. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Trevor's science class is studying the rainfall on the first day of each month for 1 year. Explain why studying rainfall on the first day of September, October, and November is not a random sample. Okay, so what do I know about September, October, and November? I know that those are 3 of the 12 months, and I know that they're consecutive. So it's like they're all in the same season, right? So I don't think that that's great. I would think that you'd want to kind of like split it up, like 1 month from each season. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So let's read through our options and see what we got. These are 3 specific months in which is too large of a sample to be a random sample. I don't think that that's the case. In these 3 months, the rainfall on the first day of the month is too small to measure. Again, I don't think that's the case either. These are 3 specific months, which means other months cannot be selected. No, you could select other months. These are 3 consecutive months. Remember how I said that they were back to back? So I'm liking this. The sample should be spread out across the whole year and include more than 3 months. I really like D. I think D is our best answer. Okay, let's move on to number 5. To predict the performance of her first period class on their next quiz, a teacher randomly selects 8 students from the class and takes the mean or average of their scores on the last quiz. Is this sample representative of the class's performance on the quiz? Explain. So this is what we're trying to answer. Is the sample representative of the class's performance? Okay, well, so what I'm thinking, some key phrases in here are, she randomly selects 8 students. Okay, that's important. And takes the average of their scores. So because she randomly selects, I'm thinking that yes, this is representative. So I'm going to read those first 2. Yes, because it's a simple random sample. And yes, because the students were chosen based on their class average. Well, no, she randomly selected the students. So I'm going to go with A. I think A is our best answer. Okay. Moving on to number 6. Matilda recently took a statistics quiz in her math class. In one question, 45 of 900 visitors at a local craft show were surveyed about a cost of admission to the show. Matilda incorrectly stated that the sample in this situation was represented by the 900 visitors at the craft show. Okay, so we know that there were 45 people surveyed of the 900 visitors. So Matilda then said that the sample in this situation was represented by the 900 visitors. And that was incorrect. So what was Matilda's error? Well, 900 visitors is the population. So 900 visitors is the population, not the sample. So what is the actual sample? The 45 visitors that were surveyed. okay? Number 7, you want to study a random sample of 4 out of 26 students in your class. Describe a process you could use to create a random sample with 4 subjects. So we're creating a random sample. So select 4 students who sit close to you. That's not random, okay? Assign each student a number and then select students numbers 1 through 4. Well, that's not random because I'm selecting the first 4. Select the 4 students whose names come first alphabetically. That's also not random. Assign each student a number in alphabetical order, then select 4 random numbers. I like D because it's all random. Everyone has an equal chance of being selected. Okay? And then lastly, number 8. A population of middle school students consists of 100 boys and 250 girls. If a representative sample from this population contains 20 boys, how many girls would be expected to be in the sample? Explain. And I gave you a hint. And in that hint, I said, sorry y'all, this wasp is bothering me. Set up a proportion and solve. Okay, so I'm going to set up a proportion. And I'm going to say it's going to be boys to girls. So boys go on top and girls are here. So I'm setting up my ratio in fraction form. Okay, so we know that the population is 100 boys to 250 girls. Now I'm going to set that equal to another fraction. So if the sample has 20 boys, how many girls? So now I'm just going to cross multiply and solve. That's one way that I could do it. I could cross multiply, or I could figure out how do I go from 100 to 20. To go from 100 to 20, I know I'm dividing by 5. So 250 divided by 5 should give me my x. And if I put that into my calculator, I get that x equals 50 girls. So that's how many girls I would expect to be in my sample size. That is the end of our little mini lesson. My little wasp friend and I are signing off. Bye, y'all.